The following interview contains sensitive themes which may not be suitable for all ages.
Yes, that is right, folks. I'm interviewing the twins responsible for the once lost song Ulterior Motives, and many other songs, and a couple of movies as well, so stay tuned for all of that. But anyways, with all that said, Christopher St. Booth and Philip Adrian Booth, how are you both doing today?
Hello. Lovely. Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Oh yes, I'm very glad. I'm glad to finally interview you after all these years of knowing of you and you knowing of me.
Yeah, we go way back, don't we? You're like our lost son.
Firstly, I'd like to ask both of you, how did you actually both get into music?
Well, we're both we've been musicians since since 11 years old. So we were learning guitars and all that stuff when we were young, and then we branched out. I became a singer. Phil still played guitar. I used to play bass guitar, and we started joining. We had our own little bands before we became a big band, which was a band called Sweeney Todd, which had a lot of really hit records out in Canada. And I became the singer. I replaced a guy named Brian Adams, who replaced Nick Gilder. Brian Adams is the Brian Adams now. And then Philip ended up playing guitar, and our older brother, Johnny B, was the drummer. So we kind of, got in there, and we had a family affair for a bit.
When we moved from England to Canada, our older brother, John, had this band, Sweeney Todd, when Nick was the singer. And we idolized him. I mean, every move he did, we idolized him. We were 11 years old. Mom would say, "Don't you want to go play like ball and stuff?" And we said, "No, we got to play." And Chris was playing bass and singing, and I was playing guitar. And we would go. They opened up, I mean, this is going before your time, but your mom would know, T-Rex, these bands like Mark Bolan, T-Rex, back for the people, they would open up for bands like this in the late 70s. And we were really young. So we were obsessed with becoming rock stars. And
Still are.
when we were 15 years old, we were playing in bands. And these older mates were like 28, 29. We were just into this. And then Nick left the band. And then Brian Adams joined the band. And then Brian, I think he's got fired, left the band. Chris became the singer, 17 years old, 18 years
The
old?
day I turned 18 on my birthday, I went into the arena for 20,000 people.
Oh my
on
goodness.
My 18th birthday. So I was like, oh my God, there it is. And that's kind of how we all started.
And then I joined the band. So it was the three brothers, John, Chris, and myself. And then that was when there were records out, record deals, London Records, Capitol Records. And it did really well. But then we kind of moved into rock and roll. More of a like Queenish rock and roll thing. We moved to America, and then we started getting into the Duran Culture Club influence. Hence, where we're caught up with this viral, these Lost 80 tracks, where we became the hair bands.
Lots of hairspray was used back then.
I mean, I have to tell you, Jack, my daughter texted me and said, "Dad, I was just on TikTok, and you're all over TikTok. This is amazing." So what are you talking about? Chris's son?
Gabriel, my son, said, "Dad, you're God." And I go, "What are you talking about?" He says, "You're God out there." And I go, "Well, then that must mean that you're Jesus, right? 'Cause he's my son, And we were very proud to make our children proud of us.
Yeah, they said, "Oh my God, your song is everywhere. There's millions of people searching for this. Everyone knows that / Ulterior Motives." And we had to, and then it was only April 28th, which is just like a week or so, a little over, maybe close to 2 weeks ago. I don't know what it is now, but that they located our names to the song. And then Instagram, Twitter, Messenger, all that stuff, everything blew up we found it. And then we started looking at TikTok and went, I have to tell you, Jack, it brought tears to our eyes to see so many kids singing the song, miming the words, making their own videos. I never knew how huge it was. It's been going on since 2021.
Yeah.
and they only discovered our names attached to it. It's at 12.5 million now on TikTok. I mean, we're just blown away.
And thankful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, like, you know, just the fact that it's gone everywhere and everything, it's absolutely brilliant. But I'd like to ask you, because it's nearly 40 years old, this song, but I'd like to ask you, how is Ulterior Motives written? Do you remember writing it? How did that song sort of come together?
Well, I think, I'll be honest with you, obviously it's a little shaky on the exact concept of it. But if it was in that, I guess apparently it isn't an adult film that was put in there.
Yeah.
We wrote music, so we never wrote it for an adult film. It was like somebody came up to says, I need some music for a movie. And we're musicians. And I said, okay, well, how much? And they gave us a good amount of money. I said, okay, use it in your film. Because, musicians got to pay the bills.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that came out in 86. So I think the song was either written in 84 or 85. And we had written it in probably an old apartment building in California that we were living with. Like 4 people were crashed in the living room.
Sleeping on the floor.
We had like a little cassette multi-track recorder, and we were demoing songs for record companies. So we wrote that song, and it's written obviously about, a potential partner that kind of cheats on you, whether it's business or lover or whatever. Because you got ulterior motives, everyone knows that now. So it was basically written about that kind of.
Now we can give you a tip that you might already know. It's already out there. When everybody started posting, everyone knows that. I looked at Chris and said, "But the words that everyone knows it. You've got ulterior motives. It rhymes."
Yeah.
And so we're going, what is that about?
I mean, not that
we'll change it if you guys want us to. I mean, it's your song. Truly, this is the internet song now. It's not our song anymore. I mean, we're grateful, but this kind of success is not something. This is
Well, I think
their song.
This is perfect here. What this says. Ego kills talent, and I think that's what a lot of people have a tendency to, because we're very spiritual, so we have a tendency to look at how you're feeling before how we're feeling. And I think that's important. And then also the fact that so many people truly love this song is the best gift you could ever give to us, even more so because everybody knows you don't make a lot of money in rock and roll nowadays with all the streaming services. So this is really the best gift anybody could give us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's for sure. And another thing I'd like to ask a bit about Ulterior Motives, what was the sort of like inspirations that you had like at the time while writing the music like that? Because when my dad heard it, he thought it sounded a little bit like the band Scritti Politti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we did like Scritti Politti.
Yeah, somebody was talking to us the other day on I don't know what feed it was about Savage Garden. And they actually thought the singer was the singer of Savage Garden that had that big hit. Was it Madly Deeply, that song?
I'm not sure,
but they even asked him to redo it.
I think what the inspiration really was was what our inspiration was, and then what the producers were trying to make what they wanted to sound like, and they were into like New Edition and kids with New Kids on the Block, Marky Wahlberg, and those higher type Madonna and Cyndi Lauper. But what we were really into was George Michael, ABC, Cyndi Lauper, Culture Club, Boy George.
And you can hear those influences with the guitar.
I love Boy George.
I can hear the George Michael, especially in your voice. I can hear just like a little tad bit of it.
Yeah, Boy George though was my hero. I mean, I idolized him. I thought not only was he a great singer, but I loved the way he looked. He was just great. He was the best man in makeup to me. He was fabulous. And David Bowie was the hugest influence for me, because when we were 14, we shaved our eyebrows up and dyed our hair orange. I was so into him, I mean, it was our whole life was music.
Yeah, when we came from England with our parents, and they put us in school, we would run around singing Beatles songs. And this is very young, 6, 7, 8 years old. And the girls would chase us around, and we'd be singing "Help, I need somebody help," and it just was the boys hated us because they thought, well, you guys got funny accents. You wear ties and shorts because back then that's what we were doing, and but we've never. What did mom say? Why can't you be normal? Why can't you fit in? Well, that is a good thing where we are
We could never,
today. We
fit
could
in.
never find normalcy. We could never fit in, no matter what it is, whether it's movie making, music, or just being. And it's worked for us.
We were just about creating, but again, just to your question, we were very into George Michael, and we actually got a record contract in London. And we went from America to London to do the contract, and we played like the Hippodrome in London and those places. Virgin, Richard
Branson, yeah.
Richard's
He owns it, yeah.
Yeah, he was interested in this as well. But
interesting.
Then we ended up back in America to continue what we're doing.
We got discovered by a producer that worked with LaToya Jackson, Janet Jackson's sister, and David Byrne from Talking Heads. He made the movie Stop Making Sense, which was directed by Jonathan Demme, who did Silence of the Lambs, and he became the producer of the movie Silence of the Lambs. And his name is Gary Getzman, and we love him. He remember taking us to his big LA house and everything. And he introduced us to a guy named George Tobin, and George Tobin had produced I Think We're Alone Now, Tiffany. So they heard us. And this is a funny story, Gus. It's so true. We were in our early 20s, and they would cart us around in the back of this big Rolls Royce to record companies. And they'd make us go into the record company, and Chris would be on one side of the record executive's ear, and I'd be the other to go, now sing that song, Ulterior Motives. Sing that song. Who's the other guy? Sing. And we do these songs, and they would go, oh my God. And so the goal for them was to produce this super group and the flavor of all that stuff.
We used to do a lot of Motown.
Motown, Smokey Robinson, Temptations.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people.
So that's a bit of back history.
We kind of sound like Smokey Robinson a little bit.
Yeah.
Who's a great singer as well.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing as well about Ulterior Motives I'd like to ask, this was kind of posted elsewhere. I discovered this this little bit from a YouTube channel named Sully, and they were mentioning that BMI and SOCAN actually recognized the song Ulterior Motives as a legit song. It was registered there and everything. And that people who were looking for the song were noticed that and tried contacting you, but they weren't able to get in touch with you about the song. Have you looked back at emails like a couple of months or maybe a year back into the search to see had anyone asked?
No, first of all, I'm not sure why SOCAN has David in my name, because I'm not David. So I'm going to have to reach out to them and say, my name's not Christopher David, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's interesting, because people were kind of calling you now Christopher David Booth. And I was going, I don't remember his middle name being David.
No, well, it's because for some reason, SOCAN has my name as Christopher David Booth, and I don't know why. I never put that in.
That's strange.
You'd even make a mistake doing. But to be very honest with you, that's a really good point. But we were never, we've never received anything or any communication with BMI or SOCAN. Even on I know that song is everywhere. I mean, a lot of people have put it up on Spotify and stuff, which I think is really cool. But so at the same time, we don't have anything that's Ulterior Motives released yet. When it comes out, then it says. But we haven't been contacted at all. We only found out again by somebody.
And this is April 28th.
Shooting me to Reddit and the Rolling Stone. And they go,
and I saw all those, was it 40,000 internet sleuths searching for this song, millions of people joining in the search.
A man who went through 65 nudie movies just to make sure where it was.
Well, it's at 85 actually.
What? Oh no!
80.
Oh no!
Yeah, you got it was. Or might even been more than that. What we did is, so everybody understood. Back then, we were musicians. We still are musicians, and we were in Los Angeles. And to make a living, we had some people that worked in adult movies, and they hired us to at the beginning to do PA work. Lift stuff and move cars and bring food, and it paid more actually than we worked on real movies in our department. We actually paid 3 times the amount
Well, I was
of money.
getting $44 a day back then. When we worked with big movies with Dennis Quaid and all that.
Yeah.
And they would say, we need some work done. Get those Booth brothers in here. And we got into the movie industry, and a friend of ours was making adult movies, and they said, why don't you come drive cars, lift equipment? And we needed the money. We're musicians, we're broke. We just moved to America. And then they said, hey, we need some music.
And so it's like, we're not judging because, you know, to me, if I get to go, and I know you, because I know your mom and you are both creative and very artistic people.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like, how cool is it to just go into your space, whether you're a painter or a writer or a musician, and create what you do and make money from it? That is the dream job. That to me is success. And so even it don't matter to me what movie uses my music. It's not like I sit there and watch it, because how can you write music to an adult film? It's kind of silly.
Yeah.
It's like watching a Chihuahua.
And I
do
think-
it. You throw a pillow up and say, stop that stuff, stop it.
And I think
You know?
the interesting thing is, because there are people that laugh about it, and I think it's all fun and jokes, and there are people that judges by it. And I think the reality of it all was, back then, for anybody who really cares to know, if you've seen the movie Boogie Nights with Burt Reynolds, which is very accurate
Marky Wahlberg.
depiction of that industry back then. That industry back then, their budgets were like $150,000 to $250,000 for a movie, and they shot it on film. So when we went in there just doing PA work and selling music to, or licensing music, we saw these big lights and big cameras, and it was inspiring for us where we are now to learn the craft of filmmaking, being able to see that equipment and seeing people that were really passionate about, because they put those things in theaters back then. Today, adult is nothing more than a camera and crap. But back then it was a huge multi-million dollar industry. And so, and they were such nice people. Such nice people. And I don't know where the world's become so judgmental compared to they were back then. I mean, when you look at the movie like X, for instance, remember the old 70s and stuff like that, it was a fun time to be alive. So I don't really have a lot of preconceived regrets about that. And I know I find myself explaining it, to be real honest and candid with you,
Yeah.
about that. But there's no reason to, because they weren't there.
I did bother
they-
me. I was making like $8,000 a month doing royalties from music.
I mean, you're 20
It was
years
all good,
old.
you know.
You're 20 years old. It's to some people, it'd be a dream job.
And also,
you know?
I have to say, I made more money doing that than I ever made on Spotify.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there you go.
But with that said, it was very interesting that somebody found that 17 seconds for this clip in an adult movie, tried to filter it out, get the M and G out of it, but that it spawned into, again, what matters: the music, the creativity.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's pretty cool that it's like, you know what it's like, Jack? It's like when you put cement over flowers and then the flower comes through the cement again. You can't kill that rose. And that's exactly what it was. I guess you couldn't kill the great song. And that's what's beautiful about it.
And for us to,
Yeah.
again, to have awakened this whole younger market, listening to this song, like, you know, they would be singing all these major hits. It really brought tears to our eyes. And I said to Chris, so what are we going to do? You know, they
Yeah.
want to have that track. And we had, now it would be a journey to go through 40 years of masters to find that track.
So far, I believe you actually, as you have mentioned there, you are looking now for the master of the track. How much of it have you found so far? I believe you found like drums, bass, but not the vocals or something like that.
Rhythm guitar, we found rhythm guitar.
We found the drums, the bass guitar, the rhythm guitar. The vocals we can't find as of yet. We do have a friend of mine that, God bless him, that recently have passed.
Oh, geez,
And his name is Rick. And he's the apartment that we lived in until we got, you know, enough money to get our own place. So we recorded a lot in his old apartment. And so he's actually very important to this concept of what has happened in our life.
He has all these masters.
So his niece told me that he's cleaning his stuff out, found a big box of masters.
Okay.
They could be in there, so she's shipping it over. Now, again, if I've always said this a few times, but if we can't find it, then we'll re-record it. We're already re-recording the guitar because I wanted to have a little bit more quality, but it's the same sound, it's the same guitar.
A lot of people said, "How did you get that guitar sound? It's so cool." And back then they had what's called a MIDI guitar,
Okay.
and that would be a regular guitar that outputs. And then this is for the guitar solo parts, not so much the twang, funky rhythm stuff, but the actual da 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 those parts in it. It would trigger a keyboard, a synthesizer at the same time you'd be playing guitar.
Oh, that's
So we
great.
still have that guitar. So we still have that guitar from the
Where is
80s.
it? Go grab it. Sure.
I'll go grab
I get
it.
to see the guitar.
Dude, I want
Anyway,
to
so-
see the MIDI guitar because I'm
There you go.
you know, because like,
Well, I was gonna-
do you know how handy that would be to have a MIDI guitar? Like, I'd be able to program, I would be able to play new stuff and new music without having to program anything.
Yeah, well, the only thing with the MIDI guitar is great. The only issue about a MIDI guitar is the latency of when you hit the string and then the echo or how long it takes to hit the MIDI note. But it's very cool. But anyway, while Phil's getting the guitar, if we don't find the vocal tracks, we're going to redo them. I can still sing a lot of it now, even though it was many 40 years ago. I really haven't lost that concept. It's pretty high back then, and I think that the producers pitched it up just not a semitone like a C to a C sharp, just a little bit above the note, which is actually a D-7, just a little bit. So I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to do the vocals, no issue. And here's the guitar.
Hence the thing. So this is the guitar.
Hey, look
Got
at
a
this.
Wanger bar. And if you guys can see it, there's a MIDI thing here that triggers a keyboard, and you plug a MIDI cable right in here.
Knock me over there, mate.
Sorry, right there. So that's the thing, it triggers keyboards. So we're just going to plug that in and we do the solo. So it was fun to have the equipment back from there too. Same with the keyboards.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so how is the re-recording of the song going actually? How's that going?
Well, there's a little video on Instagram that we put up. I just laid down the twang, and then I'm doing the solos later throughout this week. And then we already put the CMI hits in, like Trevor Horn. He was a big influence on us, from Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Yeah, Trevor Horn is a producer.
Seal and ABC and all that. So we put those in the claps, and then we're waiting to see if we can.
I think the only thing about recording in this never-ending studio of equipment.
All the equipment in the world.
Yeah, anything is toy. I want a new toy. Boom. Right. So
I want it now.
yeah. So I'm trying to. We're going to keep the song 80s, but at the same time, I want it to sound better quality. But I don't want to change the concept. It sounds like an 80s song. But today, in today's fidelity, it has a little bit more bass, cleaner, high end. And I think putting that to the original, or, the best we can do to the song, is going to help it, and it's going to excite it. So
Remaster it for today's listener.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. For today's fidelity, it's not going to be in Atmos, but it's going to be in lossless, what Apple Music calls as lossless.
I mean,
32-bit, 48K.
I think one of the wonderful things that have come from all this, and we want to thank, yourself and your mom and all the other people that's taken such an interest, the millions of people that have reached out to us, is the other songs that we found looking for this song. The other dozens of 80s tracks we did back then that are intact, that just needs a remaster, not a re-record. So if we can't find the vocals, but those songs were amazing. And they're so catchy, whether it's Chemistry, You and Me, got the right, 2 parts you, 1 part me, you and I got the right chemistry. Really commercial, you an island, right?
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
Well, the British pop sound, the British music scene was always very poppy. And Chris and I, being from England originally, we were very into British pop. And so through the 80s, we were very heavily influenced by that stuff. And we wrote at least dozens of songs like that.
I mean, Robert Smith is God, right? From The Cure. I mean, he is, right? Right. That, as far as I'm concerned, he's incredible.
So we want to thank everybody, is what I'm getting at, for making us go in the studio to look for this song. And sincerely, we had tears in our eyes listening to these songs. They were so good. And we said, I wonder if these people want to hear the other songs.
Yes, that was my question. Yes, we want them. Go on, put them out.
Thank you. So we put it. Yes, sir. So
You got it, mate.
great response. Because it has so much emotion for us that time that we captured it, that they're encaptured, and that fun, that lightness of being back then, you know, the early Madonna years, the early pop stuff, you know, from Spandau Ballet or ABC, Shoot That Poison Arrow, all that incredible music back then. I think we're missing that from today's music scene. And people are hearing this at a what? 18, 19 years old or whatever, and they're going, oh my God, you got to release that song. Put that one on there too. Put that on there too. And we're just going, oh my God, this is like, seriously, how often does this happen in someone's life that all this music has a new life 40 years later and you haven't listened to it for 25 years?
We really believe it's the universe that's saying, this is what you should be doing right now, because why else would it have come
I mean,
on?
seriously.
You know?
And you know it started in 2021.
Yeah.
And then it ramped up in 22 and 23 when Rolling Stone put that first article out.
And then they went on to interview you two as well. How did that feel?
That
Well-
was Mom, Dad, we were made the Rolling Stone.
Bloody 45 years to get on Rolling Stone.
That's what happens
but-
when we're not normal. Hey.
And we don't fit in.
Yeah.
It felt
exactly.
amazing, but the same journalist, the same writer who wrote the original article in November reached out and he said, I want to do a follow-up, but I want an exclusive. So he
They
said,
got the first exclusive interview and they were very, very sweet and
yeah.
beautiful about it. They were really nice.
And all these magazines, whether it's well, the Guardian, the Daily Mail, the UK,
Q. There were a lot
Q
of them,
magazine,
yeah.
what was it, Loudwire, all these magazines.
Still want to do Kerrang though. Want to do
Well,
Kerrang.
little poppy for Kerrang.
And Revolt. Well, we can do hard music. It's cool.
But all of them have given us so much support. They said, when you do this album or this re-release and you do the album, make sure here's our direct line. We'll all help you.
Brilliant.
Let everybody realize. And you're just going, my God, we spend 20 years knocking on doors to get this. And here it just bangs on ours.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's an exciting time. I mean, we're still doing lots of movies and doing really well. We're on Amazon, Tubi, Apple Plus, about 13 other channels and networks. And that's a great passion of ours.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that. Let's talk about your filmmaking, because you were mentioning a little earlier how you kind of broke into the nudie movie film industry and all that. So
I'll refer to it now as that nudie movie, yeah.
you ended up splitting off that anyway and kind of going into your own movies, specifically kind of like horror and paranormal kind of movies. So how did you actually break off and end up making your own movies? How did that happen?
Well, I think what happened, and I think it's important, and I don't mind talking about it. Like I said, yeah, we did about 85 adult nudie films.
A lot of for Playboy.
It was mostly for Playboy. It wasn't for, it was all for Playboy when Hugh Hefner was involved and all that. And reason they used us is because everything we did was incredible quality. And when Playboy was starting out, before they put a satellite up to create their own channel, they needed high quality stuff. I know it sounds weird, but they needed high quality to be able to broadcast it. So after a while of doing that, we were making quite a bit of money. and we were doing that. Though we never were involved in the sexual parts of it, we did the production part of it. And then when it went to the sexual, we actually walked out of the room.
Wouldn't blame you.
It's funny.
I never felt comfortable about it, but I just wanted to say that there was a time that we couldn't do it anymore because
I just had my daughter.
well, where the business they were going was getting really, I couldn't go there. I know it
Yeah.
sounds weird, but it was getting really sorted and
Exploitive.
and
Yeah.
I was
Very
watching a lot
sketchy,
of
very
people-
dodgy.
very sketchy, and a lot of people were getting destroyed, especially the girls, in the sense of I saw a lot of beautiful human beings getting destroyed in the sense of
Mentally,
physically and
emotionally.
mentally. I couldn't deal with it. My heart was breaking. So we just said, we can't do this anymore. So we took all that money that we made from those years and made our first horror movie.
And that was Dark Place. That was Dark Place, which is on, I don't want to sound like plugging it, but it's doing it's like number one on Tubi, Amazon,
nice.
and Apple TV. But that was our first one. And when we did that, an investor saw that and he came to us and he said, I love what you did that. In fact, I'll have a really cool story for you about that. When we made Dark Place, we were approached by Platinum Dunes. Platinum Dunes is big. That's Michael Bay from the Transformers. He's huge,
Gee.
right? He approached us and he asked if we were interested in doing Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Jessica Biel, the remake. He watched Dark Place. He said, that's exactly what I want it to look like. Would you be interested in directing it? Marcus Nispel ended up directing, who did that, I forget, Warcraft or something like that he did. But we were on the short list to direct that film.
Yeah. How did that fall apart though? Because like, I mean, like getting to Michael Bay, like really close there, you know?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how it fell apart. And I'm not bitter about it. It is what it is. They said, so what kind of cameras did you use? How did you light it? What kind of color grading did you use? They started dissecting everything
I
with a
think if you put
microscope.
Dark Place right next to the remake with Jessica Biel, Texas Chainsaw Man, back to each other, they look like the same film.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
They started dissecting it, and we found out that they were really more interested in sponging this magic, what we had created.
Copying
It's such
what
a
we did.
visual masterpiece, Dark Place.
Yeah.
We won Independent SAG Award for the best script, first
Okay.
movie we ever did,
Interesting.
and it did really well. But I think they dissected it, and they recorded the call, they said, to get the notes, and they gave those notes to the other director.
Okay.
And it was a very bitter time for us when we realized we were being used, but that was honestly Hollywood,
Yeah.
and we had to get over it. But that led us to Death Tunnel, where we shot in Waverly Hills Sanatorium, which was 65,000 people died there. And that place, we just went in to shoot a horror movie for Sony,
Yeah.
but so much real stuff happened on that set, paranormal wise,
Oh.
that Sci-Fi Channel in the States, I don't know if it's there in the UK.
Oh no, we're aware of sci-fi. We're aware of sci-fi.
Yeah,
No.
is said, if you can make us a documentary about a horror film company that goes to shoot a movie, but the stuff really happens, we'll give you a deal. So we made Spooked, The Ghost of Waverly Hills, which is on Amazon and Tubi and Apple too, and Plex and all those channels. And that did 2 million views. And back then, this is about 10 years ago.
So very good, yeah.
Really great ratings. And that spawned 10 more shows for Sci-Fi Channel. And then we ended up doing another movie called Dead Still for Sci-Fi Channel, which is a feature with Ray Wise from Twin Peaks. And he's a great actor. And then where we are today with our new film coming out next year, Never Blink. And we're also working on tons of other movies with partners and friends and stuff. It just launches. I want what your guys' style is. I want to bring that music. I want to bring that picture, that imagery. And we're going to go full circle here, Jack. All of that was inspired going back to those adult movies, seeing lighting, real film cameras, the way lighting was captured. I could never be on that set of adult movie and not see the way the background goes out of focus and the way the light hits. You know you're an artist when you're looking at that and not that other stuff. You know what you know in your soul why you're doing it. And I would not regret anything because I learned from the masters. Some of those people were so talented, and they were just by the lighting and grip crew and they were just working. They needed work, and they were super talented people. A lot of people don't know we won the Cannes Film Festival over David Lynch on Lost Highway when they used to
Okay,
have an erotic
interesting.
film festival. So we, in a way, we kind of owe them. So when people are kind of making fun of it, I go, it's all, I understand, believe me. But it's a different viewpoint being back in that day and being inspired by music and where we are now. We were going to write a book. They asked us to write a book that called what? Sex, Ghosts, and Rock and Roll. Our memoirs, because of all this stuff we've done, from the working, in the adults, helping learn from that, doing the paranormal, and then finally making films, and now we're back to music.
Well, I've always done music though, because I've done all the soundtracks to all our films.
Yeah.
And I'll still do music. Because I just released an album called SkyPolar, which is a synthesizer album.
Yeah, tell me all about
features...
that, because I listened to that only yesterday, and that was brilliant. That
Oh,
was
thank
really
you.
good, SkyPolar. Really good.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. It's written for people that have anxiety and stress. And it's for like when people don't know where to turn, and maybe they'll turn to alcohol or drugs or something, or meds and stuff. I never had all that because, I don't really do any of that at all. I don't actually even drink anymore. I come in here and record when I'm feeling bad.
Yeah.
And I would turn the recorder on. I would go around and play 28 synthesizers at one time and just record it live. And then I would go and edit it and, master it. And I noticed it was having a lot of emotion and feeling, like the frequencies of your chakras and stuff that would tune you, and people were feeling emotion off of it. So I said, I'll put it out, and if people like it, cool. But it was just basically a lot of synthesizer music that takes you from, it's like taking ecstasy without taking ecstasy, if you know what I'm saying. It puts you in a different space of mind. Like you're in traffic, you can't deal with it, put the album on.
Yeah.
You're stressed, put the album on. And people have been saying, yeah, you're right, it takes me away. So I'm really proud of it, and it's doing really well. And it's even doing better now that, Ulterior Motives has opened another market for us. So there's a lot more albums in our future,
That's for sure, which is brilliant to hear. And going back actually to the films that you've done as well, since a lot of the movies that you do are horror based, how do you make something scary? How does that sort of approach happen where you have to go and make something scary and basically make people, crap their pants?
I think you'll find the hardest thing for a filmmaker nowadays is two things. One is to make them scared because there's so much content out there.
Yeah.
Is to make somebody scared. The other one is to make them cry. And what I pride our films about, anybody who's seen our films, and I highly recommend you watch them, whether they're the paranormal documentaries, such as Soul Catcher, which is coming out in the next 2 months, to go to Native American reservations and to the boarding schools and what they did to the Native Americans, but go and investigate the ghosts that still remain there. You're merging fear with emotion. You're merging their tears and their lost stories. That's what's scary, the truth.
Yeah.
So when you ask me what's scary, true stories are scary.
I mean, if you look at life, the mailman the postman can be really scary. How society's become. It's just how you look at it, and also if you put spooky music behind anything, it puts you there. But I think we always, as far as the movie making, we've always looked at things on the dark side.
Yeah, we always look at life like this.
Okay.
Yeah. Dutch angle. But seriously, that's a great question, because it's hard, because it's so much content out there. And why we're so blessed in that area of our career as well is because we have hardcore dedicated fans, and our documentaries are not just scary. And I pride ourselves on capturing the most accurate and just unbelievable, just incredible ghost captures but the true story, the human spirit behind the spirit, how it affected the people and the history. Going to these buildings, the scariest thing is not necessarily looking for ghosts, it's the history that's attached to these buildings. You can feel it the minute you walk in there. That's why when we shoot our films, we shoot them in the real places where the real events happened, because we feel it imprints the energy into the films. So when we go to shoot Death Tunnel, for example, which is a classic, we shot it where the suicides happened, right where they happened. Put the
Gee.
actors right where they happened. This is a great story. And the ghosts where they were supposed to be seen, put them where they were. When we took actors on to the 45-foot tower where she jumped, she was pregnant from tuberculosis. She got tuberculosis.
Story about Death Tunnel.
Yeah, she had tuberculosis and she was pregnant and was unwed. She was ashamed and she was committing suicide. And she jumped off that roof. So we took her to the same spot, took a 45-foot scissor lift up there. So the actress would really jump, recreating that story off of the roof onto a scissor lift 5 feet below. She's there in her old 1930s nurse outfit crying. We say action. She jumps off of it. She lands. And I say to her, that was amazing, fantastic. She goes, you don't understand. I didn't jump. I was pushed.
What?
And we started realizing by a shooting where we were it actually happened, we were uncovering maybe the real case. She didn't jump. Maybe she was pushed by the person who impregnated her. You see what I'm saying? Putting the real events where they happened, we were getting supernatural activity in the films.
Yeah, that is quite freaky now with that. And how did you like deal with that, where you were dealing with the actors and then they're reporting paranormal things like that? That must have been a bit, okay, oh gee, we're a bit close to death now.
Once you start doing it, you kind of like artists pick up more emotions anyway. So when we walk into an abandoned building, I can feel all the energy all around me. In fact, we're talking about doing some music videos inside some old prisons for about, releasing the 80s album with a can of hairspray or something. But we're going to go ahead and do this. But you get used to it. You just get used to it.
I'll tell you, when you see something, and we have seen such stuff that if I was to tell you, Jack, you'd go, oh, yeah, sure. But, when you see it with your own eyes and when I saw a little girl run through the wall in Waverly Hills.
A ghost girl.
Mm-hmm. I went to go get a battery for the camera. The big grips and stuff, they were too scared. So I'll go grab it. I saw a girl run through a wall, and if I was going to explain it, it was holographic. That's what it looked like. And this is the thing. I saw it. I leaned against the wall and I didn't even know what to say. And the security there said, you saw that at the tuberculosis hospital, said, you saw her, didn't you? And I said, how do you know that? And she goes, well, we heard her giggling almost, like so nonchalant. They're used to it. We're not. But it wasn't. 2 minutes later, that my logic and my mind started talking me out of what I saw. And the set decorator said, I told him, he said, well, which door did she run into? I said, over there. She goes, let's have a look. We went into that door, and in that door was a statue of a little girl holding a doll, which is the actual scene recreation of that little girl that we're recreating, just like that suicide I talked about in the movie, because we had that little girl in the movie as a character. So all these ghosts that we were recreating, we got to really see.
That is quite freaky.
So
that is very freaky.
That's all in the documentary, by the way. Not doing shameless plugs, but it is incredible stuff. And
yeah.
I can't tell you.
The documentary is called Spooked.
Spooked, The Ghosts of Waverly Hills. If you watch it, your jaw. We talk about all this and show the captures and show the footage from the film and compare them. I've never seen, everybody says this, I've never seen anything like what you guys do. There's tons of ghost hunting stuff out there. I know in UK, Ghost Haunted and all this stuff they have there, but this stuff is unique. Plus it's powered by a great composer's score behind it. So we take you in. So I have to highly...
It's like a Pink Floyd album.
I have to highly say that what we do It's not normal.
Oh my God. And, you know, do you actually end up getting numb to scary things over time? Or is every time you go into one of these scary places filming something, do the frights still happen?
Well, I think that we've been gifted to get some of the best paranormal evidence ever, because we don't go after the evidence, we go after the story behind it. You know, as you or a journalist sort of thing, we just go tell the story, and we want to tell the true story and the real story. And I think that the spirits and the energy know that when you walk into a room, they go like, these chaps are going to help you, not exploit you. And they give it to us. They give us some really good interaction. So with that, I feel really bad and sorry about. I don't really get scared. The only time we got really scared was when we did the real Exorcist story. We went to the real Exorcist house and filmed inside it. That was scary as
I mean, you watch all these
That was
movies.
scary.
Russell Crowe just did Pope's Exorcist. He's got that new one called The Exorcism coming out. They're doing a sequel to Pope's Exorcist. You just had the remake of The Exorcist. And you watch all these movies. And we went to the actual priest who was at that exorcism, the original one that the book and the movie was made from, the one way back with Linda Blair in the 70s, and talked to the priest who sold the story to the National Enquirer in 75. The movie documentary is called The Exorcist File, Haunted Boy, and it's on Tubi, Amazon, and Apple TV as well. We got to go in that real house, and we were just filming, and that investigator said his neck felt it was like it was on fire. We witnessed, and if you watch the documentary, you'll see this, a cross, a welt of a cross rise up on his neck on the camera.
Oh God.
And when we went through the diary, because this is following the actual diary written by the priest, that the book and then the movie was made from The Exorcist. We took that diary, went to every place in St. Louis is where it happened, and investigated with a paranormal group, made a documentary. It was a really popular one for us. It was a red, but huge.
It's called The Exorcist.
The Exorcist File.
Yeah.
But we went into that diary, and sure enough, that X that appeared on the investigator's neck appeared on the boy. It was not a girl in the real story, a boy, on his leg. And when we ripped the carpet up, it's in the documentary, there's all these X's scratched. And this is really cool. It's not just an X. It's a cross, right? But you do this and it becomes an X. And it's the Roman.
They used to crucify you on
because
that.
they used to crucify like this.
It
It becomes a religious icon, and it's the Roman numeral 10, and it was chapter 10 where they talk about the devil. And so when you do this stuff, you become a supernatural detective, and that's the high. When you figure out these events with what's historic events that actually happened, you're going, oh my God, you're putting these pieces together. And that's what I love about our stuff is it's not just walking around with a night vision and the door bangs, oh, it's cold in here. It's this whole journey
Yeah.
where you left going, oh my God. And that boy grew up to be a NASA scientist that created the shields for the space shuttle. And he was the one possessed by the devil in 1949.
Okay, right. Yeah, because it seems like, which is really good, is that you don't just go and make a horror movie and try and scare the absolute living hell out of everyone. You go and try and actually go to the real scary places, the real haunted, the real paranormal areas, and try make something, and then maybe even experience the paranormal experiences that are reported there.
It's imprinted in the film, Jack, when our stuff has voices and ghost voices and sounds that actually happened there, and we felt we're their vessel to tell their story.
When we capture like an EVP, or when we go there to pre-produce it and say, okay, what are we going to do? We end up catching something. We'll write that into what the story is, because they kind of telling us what to say.
They become the writers.
What to do. So when we do a ghost story, it's really about them.
Basically, it's a script that the spirits write. We ask them, what do you want to tell your stories? And we use their EVPs, their voices, the ghost evidence, and then we write that in as their part. So they have a voice nowadays, a living voice to tell their side of the story.
Very interesting, very good. And for those who actually would actually want to look at your movies, who may have just found you through Ulterior Motives and going, hang on a minute, I feel like watching a couple of scary movies. I'll watch these lads' movies. What should be the first movie that they should watch if they became a new fan of you? What's the first movie that they should watch from you?
So hard. Well, we have like 11 playing on Amazon, on Tubi. I think Amazon in the UK and is where you would probably see them over there. But I think the first one you should probably start with would be Death Tunnel, or Dead Still.
Spooked is on if you want to
The
do
documentary Spooked is kind of what we just talked about, what Philip just talked about. I think once you get into it, you're going to want to watch.
You're going to be addicted.
It's like a Stephen King book. You got to read the.
You understand? They're not just like reality shows. They're like little motion pictures, but they talk to the real people that it happened to, the real caretakers that were there.
Yeah, and it's like when you're digging up a tree, you find the roots, and then the roots are more interesting than the tree because, oh my God, did that really
I can
happen?
tell you which is most popular by the reports from Amazon and Tubi is The Attached is really popular. It's about haunted attachments, what you bring home with you from these places. I mean, that's incredibly crazy stuff. The Exorcist File is #1 because The Exorcist was just recently released, the remake. So that one was really, really huge and popular. The Attached is great. I mean, the stuff that we went to a friend who got John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer's armoire, and he bought it at an auction because he collects haunted items. It's about people collect haunted items. He took it home. He couldn't open it. It was locked. He was going to pry the door open the next day. He bought it off the estate agent. He woke up the next day and the door was wide open. And he looked inside it and he found, true story, little paintings of Pogo the Clown, which Gacy dressed up when he did the murders. After that, his entire building where he collected his items were visited by shadows of a clown and evil laughing. It's in the documentary, The Attached, or the real exorcism box of Emily Rose, the real story, Annalise McKell, that they made the movie Exorcism Emily Rose of. Chris got the real box they used in The Exorcism. So that there was
which now belongs to Zach Bagans.
and Zach Bagans bought it for
Ghost
his
Adventures.
Yeah,
he's got that now.
but I'm saying The Attached has got these real items, and we go into the whole backstory, and then we investigate it, and we got the real recordings of the exorcism. I mean, this stuff is supernatural history.
Yeah.
You know, they go, this is hard to watch because it's so true, but it's like you don't look. England, they keep their castles. Here, we tear our old buildings down and put a Walmart up. Okay.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why the Walmart's haunted by Native American spirits. But these are relics that were used in supernatural cases that have all this story that needs to be told. So The Attached is a really good one for your viewers.
Now, I think we're coming close now to the end of the interview, so I thought I'd just leave with kind of a few little last questions for you. Firstly, I know you are making a new movie at the moment, Never Blink, I believe it's called. When should that be coming out?
Probably late this year or next year. Right now, it's going through the film festival market, and the sales agents are taking it to the big companies because it's a very big film. And it's a very scary film. And for those who don't know what it's about when you blink. And when you blink, it's about 0.1 seconds when you close your eye. You add that out throughout the day. You blink for 48 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Like you're just blinking right now, Jack, right? So yeah.
Oh no, don't do that.
Don't do that because when you
blink 3 times, you'll see them.
When you blink, you go into darkness just for a moment.
Which I did.
I did. So 48 minutes you spend in the dark. We found a way to capture what's inside that dark, and it's scary as hell. That's Never Blink. It's incredibly intense concept. You'll never be able to blink again after you watch it.
It's fun.
We like this. We like this.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, the whole movie is about the teenagers and their inventive ways to keep their eyes open. from blinking. One staples their eyes open.
Super glue.
One super glues their eyes open. And you got to have good gore in horror. People love the creative gore.
So we hope that will be out this year or the beginning of next year. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a multi-million-dollar production. So that is going to be a very, very big movie for us.
Very, very good. Well, hopefully it'll do well, especially with all the exposure you got with Ulterior Motives.
Well, we know what we're going to do is we're going to put it in that movie.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to put it in that movie. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. So will we expect the Ulterior Motives, the new version, to be released alongside that, or maybe a little earlier?
I don't want to promise, but we're going for a summer release if everything goes well. We're thinking about putting an EP out, which is about 3 or 4 tracks, maybe more. But we're going to go release it. And Ulterior Motives, hopefully, if everything goes well, because we're working on it this summer. We'd love to do a 80s summer. That would be so fabulous, you know, and do the 80s colors. And maybe we'll do a contest and we can get people to send pictures of them dressed up in the 80s and they can win something really cool and big from us or something like that. But we're very excited about it, and we're right along with every one of our fans. And so hopefully summer we're hoping for.
I think that the thing is, because we're leaking a bit of our old other tracks through Instagram and TikTok, and they're all saying, oh my God, I like that better than Ulterior Motives. And we're just going, good, because we have all these songs and it seems like we might as well release them all, because
we're not going to release them all.
Yeah, that's a lot of songs.
We're going to release a few of them. Yeah.
Release the best of the best.
I found 22 of them, so put it that way. 22 Ulterior Motive type songs.
Oh, brilliant.
And they sound great. And they really sound great. They make you happy. But we're going to release an EVP, an EP, an EVP.
EVP, we're back to that.
We're going to release an EP first.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great. And my final question I'll have for you today is essentially, you know, because a lot of these, I think it'd be kind of cool if you ended up doing it. And that would be, would you go on a live tour performing these songs like Ulterior Motives and all that? I think people would go to that.
I think that would be beautiful. And Philip and I spent most of our life, we still do, on the road. I think since we were 16, we went on the road, and you know, just myself, I've done so many dates. It's insane on touring. We haven't toured for a long time. We still go do shows. I think if the success was big, you know, as it looked like it's looking like it's going, if the success was in the demand that they wanted a live show, yeah, we do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we're just going to do baby steps right now. We'll get Ulterior Motive done for the fans, exactly how they like it. We started retracking in it, and if we don't find the vocals, then we'll finish that one off. We have the EP already being remastered as we speak, to be honest, polished. Those songs are pretty amazing, Jack, too. I know if you got a chance to listen to any of the little snippets that are on Instagram or whatever, they're so bloody memorable. I mean, I can't believe when I heard Ulterior Motives, it was stuck in my head again. I heard Watch 17 Seconds.
Very romantic and very positive and very refreshing compared to a lot of music that's out nowadays.
So I think it's the time and place. I mean, honestly, in wrapping up, why would something like this happen? I mean, think about it. What are the odds? You know, to Out of the Blue to be, what did they say, the most searched song, lost song on the internet in the world?
It's one of them anyway. I'd say the most mysterious song on the internet is probably higher than that, but this one definitely is up there. Everyone knows that for sure.
Yeah.
But no, that's great anyway. Great that you're considering a live tour. Reddit, make sure they do a live tour. And with that, I think we'll leave it there, because we've been here for long enough, and I know you got to go and finish up the masters and find Ulterior Motives as well.
Crack that whip.
Yeah, you won't be finding Ulterior Motives just talking to me.
Yeah, we don't sleep at all, so yeah, definitely.
So with that, Christopher and Philip, thank you so much both for coming on and talking to me today after all these years of knowing of you. Finally today, I'm glad to talk to you. Is there any last things you'd like to say, and would you like to plug in the old socials?
Well, first of all, you're a handsome lad.
Thank
and you're
you.
doing well, and you're fabulous, and your mom is a great talent and a beautiful human being. God bless your mom.
Everybody can reach out to us at.
Yeah.
We want the social media stuff.
Social media, Christopher St. Booth, Philip Adrian Booth on Instagram. Are you in TikTok?
Not yet. I should. My daughter says you better get on TikTok.
Christopher St. B, I believe, on TikTok, Christopher St. B, and on Facebook, it's Christopher St. Booth. By the way, my stage name is Christopher Saint. So if you go to Spotify or Apple Music, you can follow me because the Ulterior Motives and those other tracks will be released through those platforms of me. And I'm not sure if we're going to create a name. Yeah, we have to talk.
We talked about Who's Who because that was what everybody used to say to us.
Yeah.
And we had the band called Who's Who in the 80s. They'd all go, Who's Who? There's twins.
Yeah.
And said we should call the band that. So the fans want us to call us that, but we haven't really decided on that. And you can watch our movies on Amazon, Tubi, Plex, Apple Plus, and a bunch of other ones streaming all through the UK and Germany and China and Italy. And oh my God, there's like 70 other
channels.
channels.
I think if you just type on
The Booth
Amen,
Brothers-
you'll find it.
The Booth Brothers films. Don't type out the Booth Brothers because it's a gospel band.
Yeah, I got
All that. And they're pretty popular, good for them. But if you put the Booth Brothers films, Amazon, the Booth Brothers films, Tubi, I don't know if you got Tubi over there, or Plex, Apple TV, you'll find us.
Yeah.
And also Apple Music, SkyPolar. It's on Spotify, on Google Play, on Deezer. It's on everywhere. So if you go ahead and follow me on Christopher Saint on any of those music platforms, you will see Ulterior Motives and other songs will go through that. I'm not sure if we're going to create another account, but it will definitely be going through that account as well. So if you want to know what's really going on as soon as Ulterior Motives drops, you have to follow me on one of those platforms.
And beware of shysters,
Oh, yeah.
because there are now fake profiles for both of us pretending to be us out there now, and there's fake releases of Ulterior Motives saying that they're
Yeah, I
the
saw
original
them.
recordings. And this is official on Jack's show.
We
There
haven't
is-
released anything.
We haven't
yet.
released anything. This is official from us. It is our song. Yes, Chris is not a 13-year-old Japanese girl singing.
No.
It's him. He sung it. I saw it. We co-wrote the song together. It's us. And we're doing it for all of you guys. And we're going for summer.
And you can find me simply on my YouTube channel, Jack Lucas Caffrey. I'm also available on Instagram and Facebook, where I'll be posting highlights of all the interviews I do, probably some other shenanigans as well, because I'm doing a bit of music at the moment, so you might see that up there, maybe on Spotify. We'll see. But with that, Christopher St. Booth, Philip Adrian Booth, the Booth Brothers, thank you so much for coming on. And yes, I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you very
Jack.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.